Hello and welcome. I'm Johnny B, and this is Autism and the Faith and other stuff too. That's what I'm calling it now. I'm going to get to my main topic in a minute, but I want to go over a couple of things that popped into my head. First of all, who am I? Um, my name is John, but my friends call me Johnny B. And if you've listened to my earlier uh, videos, you've heard me introduce myself as the famous Johnny B. This isn't trying to be put on any sort of airs or anything. That was basically I'm a performer, and I've sung and played in bands and karaoke and other stuff. And the famous Johnny B is basically my handle when I'm performing. So that's where that came in. Not trying to put on any airs or anything. And all my nickname, all my friends call me Johnny B. That's been a thing for 25 years. Anyway, second thing I want to say, I'm getting to some good stuff. I've got about 6 or 8 scripts already done, and topics regarding autism and the faith, and I'm going to get to those. I just wanted to get some other things out of the way first, and while I'm doing that, I'm also learning how all of this works, and this one right here, I'm learning a bunch of new stuff right now, so I think it's going to be fun for you too to see some new stuff on the screen. So anyway, let's get to it. So today I'm going to talk about symptoms of autism and basically what my own Asperger's syndrome looks like. A lot of these symptoms are, my symptoms are kind of mild, as I've had years to learn how to mask them. In fact, I was telling somebody the other day that it's been so long since I haven't masked, and by masking, I mean acting in a neurotypical way so that people don't think I'm weird. Um, it's been so long since I've worn a mask. I mean, since I've not worn a mask, that I've kind of forgotten what's the mask and what's not. It kind of all blurs in together. Um, anyway, some of my symptoms are extremely pronounced. And everybody's going to be a bit different. Some of my symptoms, if you're autistic, you're not going to have. Some of the symptoms you might have, I'm not going to have. So basically, what's true for me may not be true for you or someone you know. So, first of all, Asperger's syndrome and autistic spectrum disorder is not a disease. It's a different way that a person's brain is wired from the most people, the baseline, what psychologists call neurotypical people. There are downsides to this rewiring, and there are positive traits as well. And often you'll see on the news some person has committed some crime, and the story will often point out, oh, they had Asperger's syndrome or they were autistic. But despite what you hear on the news, media, we're not dangerous. There's a lot of hype that goes along with it, but it's all hype. So, I was talking about masking. Some of the symptoms, if you don't mask, if you don't pretend to be normal, or neurotypical, I should say normal, because I'm just a different kind of normal. But some people might consider it eerie. I don't track the same way. Now, I'm off script at the moment, and that's where I just suddenly came to a stop. But I'm going to get into some of what I mean by that in a minute, and hopefully show you some fun graphs. Artist Nathan McConnell and others have used the term uncanny valley as an analogy to explain this eeriness. Now, the uncanny valley analogy originally was from the field of robotics.
Here comes the science.
And I'm going to put a graphic down here on the lower right. I'm going to move over to the left a bit to make sure that it'll fit, to hopefully illustrate this. As you can see by this graph, the x-axis going left to right represents the humanness from not human at all to being a fully typical normal human. The y-axis going up and down represents the neurotypical person's emotional reaction to that level of well, you'll see in a minute. If you go below the line, if the line goes below the line, you get your negative or creepy reactions. So down there on the bottom left, you have robots like R2-D2 and then like Wall-E. I think this graph is missing the cute factor, but as you can tell, they're not very human-like, so there's no basically negative reaction. Then a little further up the line, you get C3PO and so on. A little more positive reaction the farther you go. But when you get to a certain point, things start to look a little creepy. The robots start looking a bit more like corpses or zombies or mannequins. And they don't move quite right. And because of that, there is an inherent revulsion reaction in most neurotypical people. And that's basically how a lot of the people on the autistic spectrum feel, because they don't quite feel normal to neurotypical people and often are met with a negative reaction. Therefore, a lot of people on the autistic spectrum learn to cope with neurotypical society by learning how to do things the right way and standing out less by putting on a mask. So, symptoms of autism syndrome fall into several different categories: social issues, mental, sensory, behavioral, and emotional, communication, and some physical traits. As you can probably tell, that's a lot to cover, so I'm just going to cover the most obvious things in this video, the symptoms you might notice most, at least the symptoms that you would notice most if you met me. First item on the list is gaze avoidance. That's what you're going to notice about me right off the bat. I do not look anyone in the eye. If you've met me in person, you'll soon realize that. I'm not looking at the camera much right now because I have a teleprompter. Anyway, looking people in the eye or face for longer than a few seconds causes extreme discomfort. I'll often look downward while I'm talking and essentially turn my vision processing off, which is a practice called dissociation. Often women have thought I've been staring at them inappropriately when I'm doing that, but in all honesty, I'm not processing any visual cues at all. I've completely turned off my vision because I am concentrating on hearing, listening, and speaking. Other symptoms, I'm hyperlexic. That means I tend to use big words. And I tend to speak in a monotone voice most of the time. I often don't understand or forget to follow conversational rules, and I can interrupt at inappropriate times or accidentally turn the conversation to be about myself or say something um, inadvertently tactless. This can sometimes be perceived as narcissistic, but it's not. It's I'm not intentionally trying to make it about me. I'm doing the best I can to fit in the only way that I can understand. I also don't get nonverbal cues, hints, that sort of thing. I'm mostly blind to body language, and I don't use body language correctly myself most of the time. I often forget pleasantries such as thanking people and have to remind myself constantly in social situations. I can often become overwhelmed and I'll find a place off to myself and become a wallflower. I don't mean to brag. I am very intelligent, genius level intelligence. I can remember phone numbers and other data from years ago and do complex math and computer problems in my head. But I need to do things one at a time, and I have incredibly bad memory for anything other than data. I'm hypersensitive to touch and sometimes to light. In fact, at the moment, this ring light is bothering me. But I need it to film, so what are you going to do? I can't wear watches or rings, and I have to take all the tags off my clothes. I'm uncomfortable with touching or being touched by others. That can depend on who it is, though, and the reason. For instance, I had no issues learning how to grapple, punch, and kick in martial arts, but I found myself completely incapable of enduring ballroom dance classes. Also, a lot of people mistakenly think that autistic people have no emotions, much like people with antisocial personality disorders. That simply isn't true. I can be very emotional and empathetic, but I don't always exactly know what I'm feeling or how to express it correctly. I could go on, but I hope that gives you a little insight into what makes me tick and basically how an autistic person sees their day-to-day life. Hopefully it's helped some of you that might see the world in a similar way to know you're not alone. As always, if you've liked this video, please click the like button down below. Click the subscribe button, click the notification bell to be notified of new content. As I mentioned, I've got about half a dozen new content on their way as soon as I get to them. And you wouldn't want to miss out. Plus, I'm told all these things help my channel move up in the analytics, so that would help me as well. If you'd like to donate on a regular or one-time basis to help keep this channel going, there's links in the description. Also, please feel free to comment in the comments on your own autistic experience if you've had symptoms similar to mine, or if you have some symptoms that I don't have or didn't mention. And anyway, see you all next time. God bless and peace.